Hi, I'm Jim Munro, and this is SunSpeed. Race 7 in the Formula 1 calendar takes us to Turkey. Can Jenson Button carve out another victory? Will Lewis Hamilton make a meal of it again? Well, here to answer those questions and avoid all the puns is the Sun's voice of motorsport, Chris Hockley. Chris, how are you?
I'm fine, Jim. I've got one more pun for you there.
Oh dear.
I was going to say, Jenson's going to gobble up the opposition in Turkey, but maybe I shouldn't after your two.
Right, good stuff. Well, Jenson, of course, is the man to catch still. 6 victories in 7 races. Are we looking at more of the same?
Well, I think we are. It's just incredible. I mean, I'd like to take a moment to pay my own personal tribute to Button. I met him at the Race of Champions at Wembley last December, and that was before the news of the Honda pullout broke.
Yeah.
And Jenson was very cagey then, and we all thought something was up. We had no idea of the magnitude of it.
Yeah.
But now we're sort of 7 races, or coming up to 7 races in the season. The guy's won 5 races of the 6 so far, which is remarkable in itself. But the more remarkable thing, Jim, is he hasn't made a single mistake worth the name, which is just incredible. Even around Monaco, where just about everybody brushes the barriers at some time, he was inch perfect. It's just incredible. I take my hat off to him.
So all those people who've started saying, oh, it's a boring race now because the car's doing the job for him, you actually couldn't pick him up on anything that he's done so far. You'd say that he's driven good, clean races and it's skill just as much as the car.
Yeah, not only that, he's also, it's been all about tyres as well this year. And Button's smooth driving style has really come into its own this year. He's taken good care of his tyres. Nobody else has come close to him. I mean, I just can't see who else is going to beat him in Istanbul this weekend.
Right. Well, just moving away from the actual the race itself, we've had our rows over financial caps and the diffuser row too. Is there any other things that we could be looking at this weekend that could be creating some news away from these subjects that have been going on for quite some time?
Big talking point in the paddock this weekend, Jim, is going to be the driver transfer market. This is the time of the year where it always kicks off, where the managers and the agents start knocking on the motorhome doors and seeing what's available for next year.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this year, it's just all up in the air. It's hardly started at all because nobody really knows who they want to drive for next year.
Yeah.
The new regulations have turned the form book upside down. So whereas before a driver would always be looking for a Ferrari or a McLaren, this year, who knows? Where does he go? Does he go to Brawn? OK, they're great this year, but there's no guarantee they're going to be up there again next year. It's very tricky, and the agents and the managers are biding their time.
It's a bit of a guessing game.
It's a huge guessing game, yeah. Nobody really knows where to go at all.
So who out of the big names, the names that the household names will recognise, who are those guys are perhaps now thinking, not doing so well this year, I could perhaps do with making a move and increase my chances next season?
Well, the biggest one, obviously, is Robert Cubits, the BMW driver, rated by many experts as the best in the business, over even Lewis and Jenson. I'm not sure I agree with that, but many rate him. But he's having a shocking year. This time last year, Cubits was challenging for the world title. Yeah. This year, after 6 races, he hasn't got a single point on the board, and that shows how BMW have really gone down the plug hole and taken poor old Cubits with them. So he's going to be looking around, along with everybody else, but he's going to be a big name that's going to attract a lot of attention. OK. Anybody else who we should be looking for? There's quite a few drivers who are out of contract at the end of this year. Williams' Nico Rosberg, he's already been making noises about wanting to go somewhere else, although he's having a pretty decent year with Williams so far. Mark Webber's out of contract at Red Bull. He'll be anxious to get a deal tied up as soon as he possibly can, as soon as everything shakes out. I think the other one is Jarno Trulli, who's on very, very big money at Toyota, coming up to the end of his deal, and again, he'll want to continue in Formula 1 next year. We've got Heikki Kovalainen under great pressure at McLaren. He's got a contract for next year, but I believe McLaren have got an opt-out clause, and unless Kovalainen really raises his game, he's going to be under severe pressure too. And also another big name, Fernando Alonso, who is going through another very mediocre season with a mediocre Renault. You can't expect a great driver like Alonso to be happy with the situation at the moment, and unless Renault get their act together very quickly, he's going to be looking around as well. It's believed that he has a Ferrari contract in his pocket for 2011. Nobody's absolutely 100% sure about that, but he'll be looking. They're all looking, Jim.
Is this how many times will Ferrari have threatened to pull out by the time 2011 comes around?
Probably 2011 times, I should think. So it kind of happens on a weekly basis now, doesn't it? And we all have a bit of a laugh about it and get on with the racing.
And they still turn up.
Oh, they always turn up. Yeah.
So getting back to the Brits then, who we may see coming to play next season, who do you fancy? Who do you think might come through?
Well, as you know, we talked about last time, there's a possibility of 3 new teams coming in next year, which is a mega opportunity for a raft of British drivers to get in through the back door, as it were.
Yeah.
We've got Anthony Davidson, who I've mentioned before, a very, very good driver in my opinion, who drove for Super Aguri before they went bust.
Yeah.
He's going to drive for Aston Martin at Le Mans 24 Hours, but I know he would really like to get back into a Formula 1 car.
Okay.
2 interesting guys in the Renault World Series this year, one of whom, Oliver Turvey, is a Cambridge Blue, who I talked to, by the way, yesterday, and we'll see him on Sunsport Online soon.
Right.
He won the support race at Monaco, and third in that race was a guy called James Walker, who's been racing for many years, but is coming up strongly on the rails, both of whom have got their eyes on a Formula 1 drive for next year. Both could be very good. Paul Di Resta in the German touring car series. That doesn't sound too special, but actually Di Resta tested for McLaren at the end of last year and was very, very quick indeed. And
right.
I think he'd go very fast in a Formula 1 car straight off.
And you have, Chris, mentioned Adam Carroll in the past as well.
Yeah, Adam Carroll led Team Ireland to win the A1 GP series. The problem for Adam is he's got to keep the momentum up. The A1 series is finished now. Other guys are getting their names in the limelight. He's got to have a really strong start to the next A1 season, I think, to land a Formula 1 drive.
Right. Well, of course, we're talking about the prospective champions of the future. We've got one on our doorstep now, Jenson Button, way ahead of the pack. What's going to happen this weekend?
It's hard to see anybody else becoming champion now, isn't it? He's just so far ahead, and that car just looks brilliant. It looks brilliant in slow circuits. It was brilliant at Monaco. It was great in the flowing curves of Barcelona. We've got another fast track coming up now in Istanbul.
Yeah.
I still think Vettel in the Red Bull is going to give him a run for his money.
Despite your lack of success with your tipping for us all,
no, my
last
2 tips have been disastrous. I tipped Hamilton in Barcelona, and he got lapped by Button. I tipped Vettel in Monaco, who shunted it straight into the barriers and had his worst race of the season. So I suppose I better stick to Jenson for this one, but I think Vettel will give him a hard time, and I also think Ferrari will give him a hard time. The last 3 races in Istanbul have been won by Felipe Massa, and the one before that was Kimi Raikkonen, so the Ferrari boys have got to be there, and the team is pretty resurgent now.
I know the circuit. Good stuff. Well, you've heard it here first. Chris Hockley's kiss of death has been put on Jenson Button. But of course, if you want to see how Jenson gets on over the weekend, you have our Sun Formula 1 Race Centre. They'll give you every lap time, every pit stop, and every detail you could wish to know. And you can find that at thesun.co.uk/motorsport.